Hi everybody, welcome to the video. Today we're going to do a small watercolor study of some philodendron leaves. So last night I snapped a little branch off one of my plants by accident, which is okay. They tend to grow pretty easily from cutting, so I hope we get a new plant out of that. But just on these spare leftover leaves, I noticed that the pattern and color is really nice. So I thought I might sit down this morning and try to paint them up. So I'm going to start with a really simple sketch in watercolor pencil. I'm just trying to block in basic shapes and positions for the leaves and stems. I don't want to spend too long on this because sort of the main point of the exercise is really the patterns and colors on the leaves. So the point of the sketch is really just to give me a simple guide to work from. And this is more or less all I'm going to need, so we'll move on to doing the colors. I'm using my Senolia watercolor set here to do the colors on the leaves. So I'm starting on these outside edges and I'm trying to capture the patterns and colors as best as I can from what I can see on the leaves. I am going to jump into a time lapse for this section, filling in the rest of the color and also putting in some shadows. So here we go. For the shadows, I'm using a darker mix of blue and gray, and I'm just improvising those a little bit, making them up, and then working my way around the leaves. So starting with that dark green, moving my way inwards. The next color is sort of a desaturated mid-tone green, and then the middle is sort of this pale green. And the last little bit is just some yellow-green on the stems. And that's about it for the leaves. I did forget to film the process of the drop shadows, but as you can see, they're fairly simple shapes. I've just put them where I thought made sense for my imaginary lighting scenario here. So the next step is going to be putting down a base color in the background. I'm then going to go over the top of that with white gouache, and I'll explain why I'm going to go through that process a little further into the video. But for now, we're just going to put down the base color. So I settled on this pinky purple, and I'm just going to lay it in pretty quickly, keeping all the texture and variation and not fussing over it too much. And this is how it looks once it's dried. So now I'm going to go over the top of this whole thing, or the background at least, in this white gouache. So there's a few reasons I'm doing this. I do want the background to be closer to white, but rather than just leaving it as, plain white paper or filling it in with a solid color, I find you get a lot more interesting outcome, a lot more variation in your picture if you go through this process where you can kind of see the undercolor coming through in varying degrees across the background, and especially at the edges where the background meets your subject matter, so in this case the leaves, you get that undercolor showing through, and I think it looks really great and really interesting, and I just prefer it overall than a solid background color. So this is how it's looking at the moment. So far I feel like the background's still a little bit too pink. I want it a bit closer to white, and I want a little bit more contrast between the leaves and the background, so I'm going to do another layer of white gouache, and it's more or less repeating the same thing again. So I'm just going to move around and go over with white, and the whole point is I do want variation, and ideally I want to be able to see brush strokes and things like that, because it makes the image a lot more interesting in my opinion. So I'm trying to work quick and loose and just throw it down. The gouache did sort of settle and seep into the page a little bit more than I had kind of hoped, so it's a bit flatter than what I wanted. Here's how it looks in some terrible lighting, but we'll move on to a photo of the finished piece. So I'm fairly happy with the outcome. You can really see that undercolor showing around some of those edges, and I just really love the effect, and I actually enjoy the method as well. And yeah, look, I hope you guys like it too and enjoyed watching along. And that's about it for this video. So I'll catch you in the next one, which should be coming soon. So I'll see you then. Bye for now.